I'm going to show you how you can take an image like this to create a book cover like this and an interior like this to create your very own self-published KDP dot marker books like these currently selling on Amazon and selling very well. If we look at these low bestsellers ranks, it indicates that these books are popular and making the publishers decent money. In fact, one of the popular books on here is bringing in around $1,000 to $2,500 a month in royalties. That's pure profit. Now, the software I'm going to be using today is Affinity Designer. It's a vector editing piece of software, which is what we want for what we're going to do today. Other alternatives for this are Adobe Illustrator, which you have to pay for, or there's a free versions, which is Inkscape and Gravit Designer. Now, Gravit Designer is free for the basic version, but you do have to pay to upgrade to the Pro version. So, one of the most common places I get my graphics, fonts and interiors from are Creative Fabrica, and that's where we're going to get today's image from, as we can see here. And this is a picture of a lion, and we can see it's got commercial and full print on demand usage allowed. Now, you can get vector images from many different websites. Examples are designbundles.net and Vecteezy. Wherever you get them from, do make sure that you do have the license to use them, one commercially and on print on demand products. And that's something as a business owner you need to check out and make sure you're satisfied with that yourself. Now, one thing to note on Creative Fabrica is that they do sell interiors, and I did a search for dot marker and they do sell these dot marker interiors here, but there only appears to be about, I don't know, is it 16 or so different interiors. So the problem could be lots of people download these, use them on their books, and you fall into issues with duplicate content. However, if I was to use these downloadable interiors, I'd either modify them myself to make them a little bit more original, or combine them with images that I'm going to show you how to create today. So let's go to our image of this lion. Now, remember, these books are aimed at sort of the 2 to 5 year olds. So we want sort of very simple, cute images. And this one is such an image. One of the benefits of getting images from a site like Creative Fabrica is that you can click on the artist's name and see what other graphics they've got for sale. And here we can see that they've got other animal faces. In fact, it looks like they've got lots of different images here. So when you're creating your book, you can have images that have a similar style. So you create a more professional, cohesive interior. So anyway, so we're going to use this, going to download it, and then just drag it across into Affinity Designer like so. Now we want to convert this image into a plain black and white lined image. So to do this, we put a bounding box around our image. Click on the fill circle top right here and just move the slider to the white, and you can see we've got our lined image. Now, one of the issues with this is this part of the component of the image is hiding a lot of what we want to see. So we're just going to move this to the bottom of the layers like so. Now, we want to make sure all the components of the image are lined and those lines are uniform. So the next thing to do is just click on the stroke button here above, then move the slider to black, and then we click on the stroke tab and just increase or decrease the width of the stroke to our liking, as you can see here, and we're just going to set it at around about 10 for the moment. Okay, now the next thing to do is I want the eyes black, so I'm just going to click on each eye, click on the color tab, click on the fill button, and just move the slider to black. Do the same for the other eye. So now we've got our image. We want to transfer it to the template of our page, and this is going to be an 8.5 by 11 inch book. So we just open up a new document, put in our dimensions, and here we have our page. Now what we need to do on here, or what I'm going to do, which I think is going to help a lot of you, is put a margin, just an outline of a margin on the page. Now, if you're not sure where to find the measurements of these margins, then go to the KDP help page, to the Build Your Book Formatted Paperback Manuscript, scroll down, And there you have, it tells you what size the margins should be depending on the number of pages in the book. Now, a lot of these books that I've looked at on Amazon have between 60 to 100 pages. So for that number of pages, we want an inside margin of 0.375 inches and the top, bottom and right hand side of 0.25 inches. And that's for the right hand side page. Obviously for the left hand side page, it'd be the right hand side margin that would be 0.375. It's one of the most common problems that people contact me about is the issues with bleed, no bleed, setting the margins. Now this book is going to be a no bleed because the images aren't going to go to the edge of the page. So all we need to do is just have our margins there. So if you are unsure, then make sure you check out the help page because it can cause issues when you do upload. And as I said, it's one of the most common questions I get asked about. So we've got our page here and we just want to set our faint outline of the margin. So if we click on document setup and we have our document unit set in inches, and then we just click on this little chain here just to unlink everything. So the left hand side margin is 0.0375 and the other settings, right, top and bottom, are 0.25. Then we click on OK and you can see it's giving us here our faint border. So now we go back to our image, bounding box round it, Command C or Control C to copy, go to our page, Command V or Control V to paste. And then we just move that into position, just reduce the size, holding down Shift, reduce the size of our image, put it onto our page, just increase the size again, and we'll just increase that so we can see what we're doing. And just position it, not quite halfway down, but just towards the top end like that, and I think we'll just increase the size of that slightly. So now our lines look a bit thick, so we just want to reduce our stroke width. So bounding box around our whole image, click on the stroke tab, and then just move our width of our stroke down to 5 points. Now the next thing we need to do is click on our pen tool because we want to draw a line down the middle of our image, and just click on the top of the page. Now you can see I've got the magnet button switched on here on Affinity Designer, which helps us with aligning things up. So I'm just going to click at the top there, click at the bottom, and we've got a line down the middle of our page. This will become explanatory in a moment. So now we need to create our little circles that kids use their dot markers to stamp the colour in. Now I did a bit of research. Most seem to be around the 10mm size or 18mm size. It looked like 18mm was probably the most common diameter. So that's what we're going to create today. So what we need to do is just click on the document setup tab. Now we did have it set to inches. We want to change this to millimeters and click on OK. Then click on the ellipse tool here and then holding down Shift, just drag. Now you can see here it tells us the width and height, basically the diameter of the circle. So we just need to move that until it says 18mm like so, and then click on our move tool and then just drag that into position on one side of this black line that we drew. Now holding down Alt, put your mouse over the circle and just drag, and you'll see it drags a duplicate copy, and we can move these all over the picture like so. So I'll do that for the whole image, but I won't bore you with it all. So now you can see half our image is filled with our circles. Now we need to hold down Shift and select each of these circles and click on Command G or Control G to group them. Now what we need to do is Command C or Control C to copy and then paste, and that will paste a layer of circles on top of the circles that we've already produced. Then we right click, click on Transform, click on Flip Horizontal, and then we just move that whole group over and just position it. You might need to use the arrow keys just so it looks in a very similar position to the others. And you can see by drawing that line we can create this symmetrical image, and we can now delete our line. So now we've got our image here with all the circles. So now we want to create the actual interior PDF of the book. Now I do this in Keynote, I've done them in PowerPoint, you can do them in Canva or Adobe InDesign or Affinity Publisher. I've done all mine mostly on Keynote, some on PowerPoint, and it's just something I'm familiar with and I can do it really quickly, so that's what I use. Now before we do transfer over to Keynote, what we need to do is draw an invisible box around the edges of this rectangle. So click on the rectangle tool, start in one corner and just drag a box across. Now this box has got a stroke and a fill of white, so we need to go click on the fill and click on this no fill, and same for the stroke. Click on the stroke circle or button and click on the no stroke. This will help align the image when we do create our interior. So the next thing we do is go across to Keynote. Now before we go over to Keynote, I want to write the word lion underneath our image. So we go back to our document, click on the text tool, click on the page, and just write in the word lion. I'm just going to drag that into position. Now because we've got the magnet tool on, it will align it with the middle of our image like so. Now I want to change the font. In this case I'm going to change it to chalkboard, and again we need to just move the word so it aligns in the center. Now I want to change this. I want to give this word a stroke, so click on the stroke, move the slider to black, click on the stroke tab, and we want the stroke width of 5 to match our image, and then we want the fill color of our word to be white, so just click on the fill button and then just move the slider across to white. And there we go, that looks pretty good. So now we'll go to Keynote and we have our blank document set up here. I put in the custom size of 612 points by 792 points. For some reason, Keynote only works in points and not inches or millimeters. So I just converted the inches size to points. If you're using something like PowerPoint, you can just do it in inches, and I think it's the same if you use InDesign or Publisher or whatever, or Canva. And you can produce your first page here and then just Control C to copy and Control V to just paste all the blank pages, however many you want. Then we go back to Affinity Designer, put a bounding box around our whole artboard, Command C, Control C to copy, go to Keynote and Control V, Command V to paste, and there we have our first page. So you can see you would now repeat this process with other images and build up your book like so. Now one thing to consider is because these are like felt tip marker pens, you may want to leave the back page blank so that in case colours do bleed through. And it's a similar type of thing with colouring books. And you build it up like that, save as PDF, ready to upload to KDP. So now we want to produce a cover. Now first of all we need the dimensions for our cover, and in order to get those, go to a website called bookhow.com. Then click on the link where it says create space -KDP cover template generator. Scroll down and put in the dimensions, 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Here I've just put in 120 for the page count. That's just an example. I said it can be less if you like. And just put in your email address here, tick this box, and then email the cover template, and they will send you this template which looks like this. And the important information we need is up here in the top left hand corner where it gives us the dimensions of our book cover, and that's 17.52 by 11.25. So we go back to Affinity Designer and click on File, click on New, and add these dimensions, create, and we have our new document here. Now what you'll need to do is then drag in that template of the book cover onto our document, and it will look like so. So what I'm going to do now is draw a rectangle over this with the rectangle tool, but first I want to just lock that layer. So we've got it highlighted, click on the little lock. Okay, and we've got our rectangle tool selected, start in one corner and just drag down. And I want to change the fill to a nice colour, just moving the sliders. I think we'll go for something like this colour, move the slider down to 50, it's the luminosity, and I think that will be a good starting point. Now in order to get our image aligned on the front page, we're just going to make that layer invisible. Now we're going to draw a bounding box just around our lion's face, Command C or Control C to copy, go to our book page and Command V. Using the move tool, just move that into position on our book cover, and we've got this more or less in the center of the front page. We could enlarge that slightly if we wanted to, don't want to go overboard, and then we can switch back on our coloured background. So we've got our lion's face here, but it looks a bit dull at the moment, so what we're going to do next is just these dots that we produce, we're just going to ungroup them. So we hold down Shift, Command or Control and G to ungroup them, and same for the other dots because we want to colour them individually. And now we can select each dot, holding down Shift, that we want to colour in the same colour. So I'm going to make all these dots on the outside orange. Just move our sliders and get a nice orange colour. And I want to make the lion's mane a browny colour. So again, it's just a case of moving the sliders. You can choose whatever colours you want that are in keeping with the cover of your book, but something like that. And then we can go through the process of colouring all these individual dots. And we end up with an image that looks like this, which is quite colourful. So what we need to do next is add our text. So basically I'm going to write dot marker colouring book. Now I do like to keep my covers very simple but very bright and make the text readable, because remember, a lot of times these are shrunk down to thumbnail size, so customers need to be able to read them when they do look at them. So I'm just going to write in here dot marker colouring book. I've done that already to make it quick. And we've got these words here. This is in a font called Chinchilla, and again I've made the text white. The fill is white with a black stroke, and you can check to make sure that the words are within the dimensions of the book by just turning off the coloured layer, and you can see that we're well inside this pink box of the template. So we can turn our purple rectangle back on, and we can also write down our text down the spine of the book if we wish, and then it's just a case of saving this as a PDF file, again ready to upload to Amazon. Now if you did miss my previous video on this niche, where I look at the niche in detail and look at the keywords, then click this video next to learn about that, because the keywords are important for getting traffic. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye.